Hello everyone and welcome to my coloring corner. Today is not your typical Tuesday, and as you can see I haven't done anything on this picture. After the not your typical Tuesday last week, I had requests for showing different tools that can be used instead of the expensive soft tools that come with your pan pastels or that can be purchased for the pan pastels. Now, some of these different tools, for example, are the eyeshadow brushes, the eyeshadow applicators. You can get a gross of these, 200 or so of these, for fairly inexpensive, and they are disposable and they work quite well. So it's just a typical eyeshadow applicator. It's got 4 sides you can use for 4 different colors. Another applicator that I do use quite often is a brush. This is just a regular, it's got powder on it from the, it's just a regular foundation makeup brush. This is a small one. It goes all the way up to very large. So these can be used as well, and that's what we're going to use today. We're going to use the brushes as well as some applicator tools. We're going to finish the pan pastel portion of this today because this will go very quickly with the brushes. Basically, what you do with a brush, you can do this several different ways. You can go directly from your pan to the page, or if you want to mix colors, you can grab a piece of plastic or something to mix on. I have a couple of different things I can mix on, different palettes and things like that. You can of course use a palette. I just got to find my palette. I don't know what I put, where I put it. Oh no, I've lost my palette. It's not where it should be. Oh dear. Oops. But that's fine. That's all right. We will just use a piece of paper. So this is a piece of cardstock. It's the what is it called? Color chart that comes with one of my pencil sets. So I'm going to take a good amount of the yellow color, and I'm just going to drop it on the palette here. And then we're going to grab a piece of paper towel because I just wiped that all over my clothes. I know, I should have had all this stuff ready and I didn't. So we're going to grab a piece of paper towel and we're going to rub off any excess. Now these brushes will hold a lot of pastel, so you may find that even this small amount is actually quite a bit. So now I'm going to mix that in with the yellow, and I'm going to pick it all up with my brush, and then we're going to put it down on the page. Now as you can see, you don't get as much this way because now I've rubbed it all into the palette because the paper absorbed it, but that's okay. So what we can do is we can take a little bit of this and just fill it in. And we can do a blend instead. So basically what you're doing with a blend is you're just going to take one color at a time. And I'm going to tip this so you can actually see what I'm doing. Now I'm in a tighter area here, so I'm going to go to a smaller brush. to take a bit of the dark, a bit of the light, and you just blend it all together the same way that we did for the top part. But as you can see, it definitely goes a lot quicker with the makeup brushes and a little bit smoother, in my opinion. Now what we're going to do next week, because I have been asked if I can color on top of this, if there's, you can put this down and then seal it and then put colored pencil on top. So all these areas that we want to be more defined, we're going to add color pencil to. Another thing that is really good about pan pastels, or any pastel, that I have found enjoyable is the fact that it's erasable. So if you do get a couple of boo-boos, such as this one here, oh, too far, where you go over the lines, you can just erase it. A kneaded eraser works really well for this. I don't have mine available, so. But you can erase it all down, brush it off, and you're good to go. Okay, so we're going to do the top part now, and then we'll get into the other areas there. So again, I'm just going to take a bit of the pastel, put it down, and then we'll mix with the smaller brush because we've got some smaller details here that we want to get into. And I'll take this one, and we're going to get into some of these smaller details. Now this is really small in here, so we don't want to take a brush to that. What we'll be doing for that, of course, is taking our eyeshadow applicator. Let's get this mud look in here first. And I'm just putting it everywhere, not being overly concerned of lines or anything like that right this second. I am being concerned of how much variation there is. So I'm making sure that there's a good amount of normal coloring. So in areas that I have already gone over, I'm just going to add a little bit more, make sure that it all looks fairly even. Now we're going to take the eyeshadow applicator and we're going to go in to these smaller areas. You can get a lot closer, a lot more detailed with the eyeshadow applicator than you can with a brush. The brush is great for doing large areas very, very quickly. So if you're doing a background and you're doing it all in a couple of different colors, a brush works very well for that. If you're doing detailed things, such as this area here, you can definitely do that with a applicator. Now just remember with an applicator that it's going to put small amounts of stuff in smaller areas. So if you have something that's really dark like this brown that has a bit of a red to it, you can definitely put it down and move it around with the other side of the applicator. And it blends it in, picks it up, and softens it quite a bit. Like that. And then we're going to take a little tiny bit of the yellow and break it down a little bit. There we go. Alright, now we're going to take a different applicator brush and we're going to go in and do the small areas here. So we're going to finish I'm just going to take a handful of these out. So we're going to finish so as you can see, you can get right in there with your color. Now you can do this with a small brush as well. Which I'll show you on the next one here. Okay, so as you can see, you can get in quite nicely with that applicator brush. Now, if you have a really small brush, such as this one, you can also get in with that. You just get your color on there, and this way you can do one or two at a time. You should actually erase that off there. I've got a bit of yellow on the edges, but that's okay. Usually the lighter color will take over and you won't see it anyway. But if you do find that you do see it a little bit, you can either blend it in or you can erase it. Now, if you have any excess, so right here we have some excess, you can either take a brush and brush it off, or if I can find it, I know I have one. I want to show you the kneaded eraser. So this is a kneaded eraser. And I'm just going to take a part of it here. Just going to knead it up a little bit, warm it up. It works better if it's warm than if it's cold and stiff. Alright. So you can just take your kneaded eraser and just dab it. And this is not ready. My eraser is not ready. And this is why I don't use the kneaded eraser as much as I should, because it does take some time to work it and get it going. Yeah, I'm not liking this kneaded eraser. So I'll just use a regular eraser. And I'm just going to pick that up. Like that. And then I'll use a brush and just dust it off. Not touching it, I'm just going above it and brushing it off, making sure I don't have any excess all over the place. Now we'll take the eyeshadow tool, eyeshadow applicator, and we'll put in our purple. Then we'll take our brush and we'll just move it around a little bit and blend it in like that. So those are the different ways that you can do that. I find sometimes the applicator tool gives me more of a defined look than a brush on small areas, but it does give me the ability to cover large areas with one color. So larger, small areas, I guess I should say, because it gives me the ability to stay where I want to stay, but cover things quickly, like so. So I can cover all of this quite quickly. And I'm not worried about the lines right now because, like I said, I'm going to be spraying this down and we'll be coming in and giving definition with some color pencils just to show you that you can, in fact, color on top of this with colored pencils. And take my applicator brush. Try to make sure that you pick up any of those little spots. Like so. And we accidentally colored one from that flower, but that's okay because we're going to be doing a bit darker on it anyway. Like that. And then we just take our brush, and I'm not touching the page, I'm just going above it to dust off any excess that may be there. Make sure that we get those details in there. Nice and smooth. Like that. Okay, so there is one of our cacti type flowers. Now we're going to take a little bit of this one. Actually, we're going to cover everything with that light green. Where did I put that? Okay, there. Again with the light green. And just covering everything with it because I'm going to blend another green into it. So it is going to be a different color of green than the other one, but it's still going to have that soft undertone. Okay. And then we're going to take this darker green, and it's a very nice gray green type of color, and we're going to fill it all in. Now I'm going to take the brush because the brush moves a little bit quicker and blends a little bit more. And you can take as much of the color as you want, or as little of the color as you want. You know, I want this to be a darker green, but not a heavy bright green. That makes sense. And once I dust it all off and take off the excess, it will. And I colored a leaf wrong, but that's okay. We'll work with it and we'll fix it in a second here. And once again, I'm not worried about the definitions, because once I just dusting it off, I don't want it going all over the place too much. And then we're going to take our light green one and we're going to fix this area here. So it does give you the ability to repair things. Like that. Okay. And again, we're going to dust it off. Now we're going to take a deeper blue color and we're just going to do the insides. Of the areas. I do not know if these are actual colors of one of these cactuses. I just like the colors together. If that makes sense. And this is one of those things where it doesn't have to be. It's however you see it. You know, it doesn't have to be, oh, that's not the right color, or oh, that doesn't look right. Do what makes you feel good. Okay, I think I've got all the areas covered there. And again, I'm going to take the brush, dust away any excess, and then we're going to take a little bit of this bright green and we're going to of the flower. Now don't worry about um, don't worry too much about the detail, because we will be coming back through with some colored pencils, putting that definition back in and cleaning up any areas that need to be cleaned up. Like that. And then I want this color. I need an eraser for that one. So I had a leaf here that was covered in the soil color, so I'm just erasing that soil color off of it. Same with these flowers here, they've got a little bit too much of that soil color. So I'll erase it and I'll reapply it. Alright, and then we're going to take our brush, brush it off, and we'll put the green on there and on here. And the pink. Now for really, really tiny areas like this, you can also use a lip gloss applicator, which works really well as well. I don't remember if I have any left. Didn't see any when I was digging around in my drawer. But you can also use a thin brush as well. So if you want, you can take a brush and just apply it with the brush. Like that. Just if you're going to use a brush, make sure that you clean it out so that it doesn't get all goopy when you wet the brush if you're using a brush that is going to be used for watercolor. And I think I want a little bit more definition in the centers there, so I'm going to take the brush and I'm going to put a different blue in there as well, just to get into those deeper areas there a bit. Okay, just to give it a bit of a different tone. In the darkest parts. Now, if you're using a brush, you would use it the same way you would if you were doing watercolor. In quick little strokes, don't scrub your color in, otherwise you'll get a very unnatural looking flow into the color. Where If you use a makeup brush, you work in small circles and scrub it into the page. Where with this sort of application, I'm following the dark lines that are on the page with just a brush and some pigment. You can also use the brush to pick some up if you find you have too much in an area. Blend it in. Like that. Blend that a little bit more. And there we have it. So that is what we have so far. What we're going to be doing is I will be taking this out and I will be spraying it after I do a couple of the lined areas. So I'm going to take my brush and I'm just going to fill in some of these edges here where the dirt has cracked because it's dry. Blowing away any excess. So as you can see, you can get into those finer details with a brush if you need to. I'm not overly concerned about the finer details because I will be coming through with colored pencil on next Tuesday's video. So I'm just doing a very loose covering. This part here I did with the pastel pencil, but I'm still going to just go over it just a little bit so that when I do come through with the colored pencil, it'll be a little more defined. Same with under the plants here. Just trying to make sure that the definition areas have a little bit of color before I spray it. Make sure those shadows are still in there. A workable fixative is a fantastic tool to maintain what you've already put down and to give you a good surface to work on for your colored pencils or your paint if you decide to paint on top of this. I personally have never done that, so I don't know how that would turn out, but I have put a fixative on it and colored over top of it. So that is what I will show you next week once this is sprayed and ready to go. Next week we will put the definitions back in with some colored pencils. Until then, I hope that you have a better understanding of how we use different tools with pastels, with soft pastels, whether it be pan pastels, pastel pencils, anything like that. You can put the pastel pencils on a palette and pick it up with one of these brushes. If you're using a block, just scrape it off onto a palette, pick it up with the brushes. All right, until next time, when we put some more definition into the page, I'm going to take this outside and spray it with my Krylon workable fixative, and then we will be ready to go with a little bit of pencil. All right, guys, until then, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial, or at least found it a little bit educational on the different types of tools that you can use while coloring an entire picture with the pastels. And as you can see, I could leave it just the way it is, and it looks very, very lovely. I like to add a little bit of pencil to it just to give that definition a touch. All right, guys, until next time, thank you all very much for watching. Always remember to like, comment, and subscribe to any YouTube artist that you enjoy. Always be kind to one another, and never forget to relax, color, and stay safe. Until next time, guys, bye-bye for now.